For me, anything you can do to make your practice time more approachable or to take away the barriers from the habit that you want to do. And so if that means spending $40 on a practice pad or spending $150, $200 on a practice pad kit, to me, that's time well spent and money well spent. If you're like, no, I need it because there are times of the day when I want to play, but I cannot play. So what we're doing is we're kind of removing barriers to our practice time, and anything you can do to streamline getting to your practice time, it's so good for you. How's everybody doing? Hopefully good. I'm seeing some friends in here. What's up, Bobby? What's up, Art? Pooley, how are you? Was just talking about you with Richard. We were having a good conversation.
Talking about old people playing drums?
What are you talking about, old people? There's like 20 people on here that are like, wait a second, who did you just call old? Oh, what's up, Helen? How are you? Delphine, Christine, it's good to see you. Let's see here. Hold on. The librarian. Oh, I like that. Because my wife has always told me if I go back to do anything, I think I'm just going to be a librarian. Not that she doesn't do anything. She takes care of the kids all day, so that is a lot. And homeschools them. So I am interested. Can you talk? So are you an actual librarian? I'm actually very interested.
Yes, I am a college librarian.
Oh, really? What college are you at?
I'm at a community college in Central Alabama.
Ooh, what part of Alabama? You said Central, never mind.
Birmingham-ish.
Okay, yeah. I used to come do a gig there on Sundays. Man, this was years ago. So I know the area. I'm from Hattiesburg, which is just south of you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know the area very, very well. That's awesome. Well, it's good to have you. And now, what is it?
I'm
sorry.
brand new.
Now, what's your name? I'm sorry.
Barbara.
Barbara. Okay. Well, it's good to meet you, Barbara. Are you originally from Alabama?
My dad retired from the service here. All his family's from here. I've been here so long, you can hear it in my voice. So.
Yeah. When I get tired, or when I get around family, I traveled a lot when I was a kid, and so when I get tired or when I get around family, though, my southern drawl starts to come out. So now, how long have you been playing drums?
Since I joined Drumeo in 2023, maybe. That's how I found you, by the way.
I love Jared. I love that crew over there. Everybody thinks that we're like, they say, oh, I'm sorry to say Drumeo. I'm like, I don't care. I think they're great. I love Jared. I was talking to him just the other day.
Yeah, it's been very helpful, but I don't know how to practice. So that's why
Now I love it when people are just blunt. I don't know how to practice, and so I would like to know
Look,
that.
I'm old. I don't have a lot of time. I got to get right to the point.
Okay, well, maybe let's just open this up. By the way, if you're new, like Barbara, these are pretty laid back, as you can tell. So we really like to hang out and talk drums. So a couple things I like to do up front is any wins that you have. If you have wins, please raise your hand. And that is any small thing that went right in any way over the past couple of days with your drumming. It's those small wins that'll get us to the next ones. And then questions. We have one submitted. Oh, and we're giving something away. Grant, we're giving away.
We are giving away
a book.
A book.
That's what we're doing. See, in commemoration to Barbara the librarian, we're giving away a book. And I think, because last week we gave away a shirt, and then the week before we gave away a gift card to Sweetwater, a book's going to be good. We're going to give away Atomic Habits. Since Barbara and I just started talking about practice, there's a great book called Atomic Habits that is fantastic. And so at the half-hour mark, we're going to give that away to one lucky. I would say lucky, but maybe they don't want to. Maybe they don't want a new habit. Maybe they just want a very mundane habit, not an atomic one. So I got a question for you, Barbara. You say you don't know how to practice. So can you expound a little bit?
I can. You know, your fire hose analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I love Drumeo, but I can get down that rabbit hole in no time. So I'll learn a piece of something, and then I'll go learn something else, and then I can't remember what I've done. So I've downloaded your Warrior Way thing, and I'm plodding. Well, I'm making myself go through methodically and really just practice.
Yes.
Don't get ahead. I'm only doing what is on your checklist. I love a checklist. Thank you. Gosh, I'll make a checklist, and the first thing on it is make a checklist
Yeah.
so that
So
Um,
so you can check it off. My wife and I were just talking about this last night because I'm trying to get her to go digital with some of her checklists for me so that they can be updated no matter where I am, and we can, Well, when we got married, I would find these lists around the house, and it would be like milk, bread, avocados. And then I would find another list in the kitchen. It'd say milk, bread, avocados, cheese, and then tea. And then I find another, list in another room: milk, bread, avocados, cheese, tea. And then I'm like, this is the same list. What is happening? And she said, oh, well, I messed up the list, so I have to start a new one. And I said, you can use an eraser. If you mess it, you just do that, And she said, no, I don't like that. I'm like, okay. So, okay, this is really a common thing. And this is one that I was just dealing with in my practice time. And so Grant and I were prepping for a new video, one on Grayson Krupman and also one on Jojo Mayer. Jojo Mayer is one of my favorite drummers of all time, and he just inspires the crap out of me when I hear him play. And we were just talking about it. And so then you come into your practice time and it's like, oh, let's go down the rabbit hole of Jojo and let's work on some things of that. And my only superpower is I'm so hard-headed that I don't quit doing what I'm doing until I get there. And just as you said, the internet is a great place to have information and to find information. It's a horrible place to organize information for you. And so a lot of times when people come and start the program, what we're doing is organizing the information for you, and then we're accountability for you. And so what we have to do is it's like, okay, look, if you have an hour to practice, let's just say, and this is for everyone because this is a conversation I have with a lot of people. Say you have an hour to practice. And some of you are like, I don't have an hour. Okay, let's say you have half an hour. Let's start there. Half an hour to practice, what are you supposed to do? Well, I suggest practicing no less than 20 to 30 minutes on one topic. So if you have 15 minutes to practice, that's totally fine. Practice one thing, not 5. If you have 30 minutes to practice, I'm a firm believer in you should play music every day. So I think you should spend 20 minutes on one topic. Let's say we're going through the Warrior Way, which is kind of our beginner program to go through. It's pretty extensive. Barbara just started it. I would spend 20 minutes in the Warrior Way. And you say, I don't get enough done. Okay, well, we didn't ask that question. That's irrelevant. We're sticking to it, right? 20 minutes on that. And then the last 10 minutes, I'd play music. That's what I do. That's what I do. And then if you had an hour, I'm going to focus on 20 to 30 minutes on topic number 1, 20 to 30 minutes on topic number 2, and any leftover time I have, so maybe 20, 20, 20. The last 20 minutes, I'm going to play music. And a lot of times we think that playing music is a waste of time. Oh, I'm not practicing my rudiments, or oh, I'm not doing my hand and foot stuff. It's the best use of time. Music is the best, y'all. If you're not playing music every day, you're just really missing out. Music is so awesome. So play songs that you know. Make a playlist of I learned these songs. That's the perfect songs to go back to. And you play them. And what you do is you end your practice time on a win. You end it on, I played that song right. Right? It's a song that you think, oh, that song's easy. That's okay. Guess what? I was on tour with a group for a year and a half. I came off last year, a Southern rock group called the Steel Woods. It was not complex music when it came to the parts I was playing. Do you know how many times I played those songs? Hundreds. And every time I played one, I had this little bit of pride where I was like, nailed it. Or didn't nail it. Hopefully those were fewer than the others. But I could think of a couple shows where I was like, yeah, buddy, why don't you practice some tomorrow? But it really does end on a win. So it's all about less material on a deeper level. But the big thing, kind of what Barbara, what you were saying, once you get into that, it's continuing for weeks. Because you're not going to, like the Warrior Way is going to take you months to get through. I was talking to somebody with Hand Technique 101 the other day. I said, okay, you're going to be here a few months. I said, you don't need to rush through this. It's okay. There's no race. No one's out there revving an engine. Races are for horses. Music is for musicians, okay? So just slow down and ingest it in the best thing you can do is show up and open your journal and go, oh, there's where I was yesterday, and this is where I'll be tomorrow, and this is what I'm going to do. 1% better every day. If you get 1% better every day, you're 100% better in 100 days. So you're like, that's too simple. drums is so easy. It really is easy. The hard thing is actually putting in the habit of getting to where you can do that. So I didn't mean to kind of go off on a tangent there, but that's a discussion I have with so many people, Barbara, is, you know, you're definitely not the only one with that issue. So so you started in on the Warrior Way, and have you kind of been showing up and just working on that every day?
Yes, I'm even taking notes here as we speak, which is not something I did before. I'm even being brutal when I don't get it right. And then nice to myself when I am. It's new. The practice is new. But I really, really I know where I left off. I can pick right back up. I wasn't ending on playing something that I enjoy playing, so I'm going to add that now. But, you know, I'm so new, it hadn't gotten gruesome yet. So.
Right. Well, and another thing that, you know, you talked about being honest with yourself. Another thing I try to do that can be hard is I try to make practice an unemotional time. Practice is not I love to have emotions with my family, and I don't really want to have emotions with my paradiddles. It's a pretty fact-based thing. I can listen to the recording and I can tell, you know, I don't need to go eat Twinkies because I'm depressed that I didn't play my paradiddles well. Like, that's not something that needs to happen. It's just a matter of fact, like, that didn't go so well. The quality's not there. So we keep working on it, right? So I like that. Thank you for opening up a good conversation, Barbara. I appreciate that. All right, we got some people that have wins or questions or one of the two. So I want to talk. What's up, Pat? How's Mississippi, man? Can't hear you yet.
Still learning the buttons. Thanks.
Well, if you figure them out, send me a video that it tells me what to do.
They've moved them all around. It's driving me nuts. It took me 15 minutes to find how to raise my hand. So anyway, I have a win. It kind of ties in with the opening discussion. I watched your podcast earlier this morning before I went into practice. And lo and behold, your podcast was on practice and mistakes and everything, because I've been on hand and foot doubles forever. And I was going into practice and I was thinking, I don't want to do hand and foot doubles again, because it's so slow. It's like 1 or 2 beats per minute, you know, progress. But anyway, I listened to it and got disciplined and went in and did what I was supposed to do. So I can empathize with Barbara. And by the way, Barbara, shout out. I'm your next door neighbor. I'm over here in Mississippi. Glad to have another Southern lady in the group. You're a breath of fresh air. And there's something. Oh, I know. I had a question too, and then I'll get off and let somebody else get on here. I do everything from an iPad. I don't even have a computer, and I know what I'm needing. I've got a book that I keep track of what I did that day. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to get something, because it's just a notebook. There's no organization to it. I just write down what I did, and that. I was looking on Amazon, and they have some drummers journals. Mm-hmm. And would you recommend something like that? If so, do you have one that you've seen and would say, get this if you want to get one?
I don't have one that I've seen, but coming from someone that still does a lot of physical, so a lot of my stuff I'm not digital with. For instance, I still carry books around. I know, I'm crazy. I have a couple in my backpack. I have several by I can't do the e-readers. I don't like them. I also like to write things by hand. So my biggest suggestion for people that are doing a practice journal, and I think everyone should, make it something you like writing in. And that seems silly, but I love Moleskine, like the Moleskine, whatever. I like writing in those, and they have like lines. So my writing is straight because I have awful writing. So for me, I like writing in that. And so it encourages me to go back to it because I like opening it up. I like how the pages feel. So if you find one, I don't have one. Grant, have you got one that you like?
You can actually see it on that drum on the floor, Tom, over there. I found a little pack of like leather, just notebooks, and they have a little pin.
Hold
a
on, I'm gonna
spot
go
for
get
the
'em.
pin. Yeah, it has a little spot for your pin in it, and it has like places for your bookmarks. So I actually have like two different like things that I'm keeping track of in there. So and they're tiny, so I can just throw them in my bag or my pocket if I need to. And they came in like a pack of like 5, and they were like $10 on Amazon or something. Yeah, that's them right there.
I've been writing stuff down, but I don't know, maybe I should keep a little bit more information in there. I kind of just like worked on hands and foot doubles, lesson 2 at such and such BPM, and that's about it. But these journals have a little bit more stuff in them that might trigger more useful information to put into it. So that's why I was asking about it, because mine's pretty basic information that I put down in my journal. So
Yeah, this is the one that Grant was talking about. Little leather guy. The ones I have too, I like them because they have this strap that puts it closed. I've used field notebooks before, but I honestly, if it looks like you would like it and it looks like it's going to give you the information you need, then I don't think you're going to go wrong with them. Whenever it comes to one or the other, I haven't used one other than that's like my biggest criterion. Maybe that's a silly criteria, but I have to like writing in it. I will pick a version of a book that I'm going to read based upon how the pages feel. I'm like, no, this version is not so great. This version's better. I don't know why. So if there's one you kind of been looking at that sparks your interest, I think I haven't used any though that I think are better or worse.
okay.
So
Do you think, how important do you think it is to, how much information to put in there? Maybe I should go back and look at some of your.
So you know what I've found? That's a good question, Pat. That's a good question because I've wanted to start journaling for years. It seems like we're talking about a lot of things that are connected to drumming, but they're not. I always thought journaling was like this whole like 4 or 5 page ordeal, and that's what kept me from doing it. When I was on tour, we were going through all these cities, and a lot of them were smaller towns with really great theaters, and I wanted to remember some of them because I wanted to bring the family back to some of them. So I started taking obscure notes that only I would understand about maybe like something funny that happened that somebody said, or a waiter said something to me and Tyler, or, this was the place with the good ramen. I literally have that note in one. They had the good ramen around the corner, Lincoln, Nebraska. And I immediately remembered the street layout, everything. And I thought, oh, wow. So I don't actually have to get complicated with my journaling. So for me, as little information as you need to where you can pick up and start quickly the next day, so that you can look back at those journals and see your progress, but also it's going to trigger you immediately to be like, oh, okay, I remember. Because I actually don't want you spending a ton of time journaling, unless that's your thing. But it's kind of the essentials. I played this page of this, this exercise at this BPM. My goal for tomorrow is this BPM. Practice went, sometimes I'll put down how I felt, practice went okay, a little discouraged, but gonna keep plugging. Or sometimes practice went great, finally nailed that song, gonna start here tomorrow. And then the next day I just kind of pick it up and start where I left off.
Okay.
The hand and foot doubles, I got a question for you. Have you tried practicing those to songs?
Yeah, a little bit. The songs that I have, not too many of them, you could use something like that. There's one song that I'm learning. It's called Unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it's got some in there that I can do that. And I've started doing it.
So I would look up songs at whatever BPM you're practicing at. Find songs at like 80 BPM. Don't try to play the song. Actually, just play the exercise over the song, kind of like we do at camp sometimes. And sometimes whenever I've got a topic that has gotten a little stagnant for me, I'll use the music as my metronome instead of a metronome, and I just play the exercise instead of the parts for the song, and it really invigorates me to kind of get back in and practice it. So you might try something like that too, if you're on something like hand and foot singles and doubles that can, feel like you're not moving as much as you want to sometimes.
Okay, when you get my age, you really have to be careful about making notes of things that only you know. because you forget what that little symbol, what that.
So maybe a little bit more detailed than mine.
Yeah, you need a little more detail.
Awesome, man.
Oh, I'm good.
Uh,
Thanks.
What's up, Trey? How are you? I think I'm getting that right. Hold on. Yeah, it's Trey. If I say your name incorrectly, it's just because my eyes are way too far from the screen.
Well, if you could tell, I got my reading glasses on, so I feel you.
How are you, man?
Man, I'm doing good. I don't really have too many questions. Well, I got 100 questions, but I'm not going to bother you with them now. I just got some statements I'd like to make. First and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time to answer emails and being personal level.
For sure, man.
And the other statement I want to make, since I saw Pooley was on here, is I really appreciate the video you did with him on that. It was very inspiring.
Yeah. Pooley, I have to say, Pooley, Grant and I have gotten more emails. We're actually a little bit jealous. I think Pooley's more popular around here than we are, so I'm dealing with it. It's fine. I'm, you know.
I was really happy to do it with you, Stephen. You know that. It was great. We did it twice. We liked it so much we did it twice.
Yeah, we did it twice because my dumb self, we lost the files. And so, yeah, because of that, we've got to do it again. But yeah, I've heard from so many people, Pooley, that was I know you were just sharing your story, but it really resonated with a lot of people. So thanks for taking the time to do that, man. I really appreciate it.
Let me just insert this real quick, and then we can get back to Trey. But I had a gig Friday night, and there was an older gentleman in the front of the venue who came up to me right before the gig started, and he shook my hand, and he said that he'd listened to the podcast and tracked me down to come watch me play out. And then we spent a lot of time talking afterwards. So if Ed Laverty signs up for a membership, I'll send you my address for the commission check. So
Pooley's got stalkers. I looked up your address, Pooley.
that's what it was. Unbelievable. It was great. It was great. So,
Awesome.
Now,
Go ahead, Trey.
well, I was to say, if I could just add a win, I'm on my 6th week now after 10 years of trying to play drums and keep them quitting. I've only chunked the sticks across the room like 15 times, and I'm still at it, so I'm happy.
That's awesome. Look, man, the number of people that stop, start, I mean, what you're talking about right there, tracking the daily, whatever it takes to show up daily and keep yourself motivated. People think that's silly. My daughter was going to go spend a weekend with my sister and her 3 kids. She got so excited. Like a month before, I had to make a calendar, and every day she got up and she's like, okay, how many more days? And I'm like, well, yesterday we had 14 days, so that means today we have 12 days. No, that's not right, but I want it to be 12. I'm like, but it can't be 12. It's got to be 13 because yes. But she was and it was like every day she was marking that off. And we think that's such like a childish thing to do. It really works as adults. Kids got it together. They know what they're like. Can I have a list? I'm like, you can absolutely have a list. Why? Because they want to get it done as quick as possible so they can go play, right? We as adults, we need a list. And I use it. I have a calendar here, and sometimes I make just one emoji. And if I'm showing up to do the thing that I said I'm going to do, on that day, I put a meeting, and then I put the emoji, and then I can look back at my calendar and see how many days I had going. Seinfeld talked about this, Jerry Seinfeld. He would put an X on his calendar for every day that he wrote jokes. And he said it didn't have to be something dramatic. He said just every day I had to write. And he said, and then once you get that chain going, he said, you kind of don't want to break it. He said, so you'll do anything to keep it going. My son is teaching himself Japanese. He's doing so through Duolingo. I have literally had to tell him 0 times to go learn Japanese. He just wanted to do it. And then one day he was talking and I'm like, what are you saying? And he's like, I'm speaking Japanese. I'm like, what? I'm sorry. What's going on? He's like, oh, I'm like on a 90-day streak on Duolingo. It works. So like what Trey's talking about, tracking, like I'm 6 weeks in and I'm still just, it's such a simple thing. If you will just track the days and show up more days than not to practice, you're going to have an awesome drumming career. We really overcomplicate it. That's awesome. That's awesome. You've been going 6 weeks, man. Huge accomplishment. You've chunked your drumsticks less times than I have, by the way, in the last 6 weeks. So also a huge accomplishment. Christine, how are you?
Hi.
Almost. Wait a second. Hold on. Wait, we've got two Christine. Let's do Christine first, and then Christy. We got back-to-back Christies. It's just like bam, bam, bam. My sister's Christy too. So
I was like, I can't wait if you want me to, but either way. So just one thing cool is I also move a novel every day in the morning. Similar sort of things. You're thinking about that. It's like very fun to have those things in your life. But so what I'm working with my drumming right now, I'm about 3 weeks in for that. Clocks is the one that I'm working. And so I'm going to send pictures or videos onto the dashboard. Right?
The forums.
Yeah. So I'm going to show an old one and with a newer one. So I moved it up from about 7 at what do you call it? At the used to say it's instead of be 1% for the movie, it'll move it down to 7%. So it's about like at 91 BD. Oh, what the word you just said?
BPM.
Yes, BPM. So now I'm up to 80. So it's a 103, 104 is about how much instead of being 131 normally, right?
Right.
So I started at 91%. I'm up to 104 is what I'm working on. So that's what my videos are going to put onto the.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
show it
if you
out.
could make sure tag me so that I can see it too, and then I'll look at them and see how it's going.
Great. And that's my question is to know what's doing better on Ethernet. And then tell what are good things where it's like, okay, maybe I'm holding my hand this way, move it or whatever, something with that.
So,
but that's really fun to hear it. It's been really fun to do it.
Yeah. And typically what I do with those is I record a video. As often as I can, I record videos when I give feedback. And a lot of people are like, that's very personable. And it is. But it's also selfish on my part because I can say more so I don't have to type it. I hate typing. But it's also better because you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. So once I watch them, I'll record a little Loom video for you and I'll put the link in the post so that you can, and then you can also save that video if you need to refer to later. There'll be a download button in the upper, I think it's the upper right-hand corner, where you can download the video too. So.
Okay, so I'm just questioning what I'm just hearing what you're saying to do. Should I be sending to you or should I put it on the?
You can do it either way. You can put it in the forums or you can send it to my email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So either way works really great.
Okay.
So
I will put it in with the big place.
Okay.
I keep saying that word again. The
forums on the dashboard. The forums.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Sorry. But thank
you don't have to apologize a bit. Look, you're doing better than I would in that situation, so you don't need to apologize any. Christy, what's going on?
Hi, Stephen.
How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for your feedback from my video.
Yeah, Christy sent we were just talking about that, Christine. Christy sent an awesome video last week. And I got to see her playing, which I was really excited because I don't know that I've actually seen your playing, Christy. So all y'all see me play and you hear me talk, but I rarely get to see you play or talk. So.
And my question actually, when I practice, I usually just have like earplugs and then I have my iPhone and I play Spotify through the Bluetooth to my headphones. If I want a video and get the music too, what's the simplest way to do that?
So in the Tech Talk area, we do have some, for anybody that is kind of wondering the same thing, we do have some some videos that tell you simple ways to do that. Okay, so what are you wanting to do? Explain it to me again and I'll give you the simplest way to do that.
I want a video myself playing, but I also want the music to be in the video and not just in my headphones.
I got it. Well, are you on a iPad or are you Android?
Just iPhone.
Okay, cool. So, Grant, what's the simplest way to do this?
So with just a phone, it's gonna be tough without like recording everything and then overlaying the music. I think what the easiest way to do it is to have some sort of DAW where you have the track and you hit play and record, and then you have your phone, and then you can sync everything up, kind of like what we do here. When Steven records something, if there's a track playing, it's usually playing on Pro Tools, or he's ran his phone into Pro Tools to play it, and that kind of way around. So with just a computer or just your iPad or your iPhone, it's going to be hard to do both of those at the same time.
One way you could do it is play the song and record yourself on the video, and then iMovie. You can download iMovie for iPhone.
It should be on. Yeah, it should be on the phone.
Yeah, and you could take the song. If you can download the song, you can sync the song up with your video. Like, let's say there's a crash at the beginning, you would just sync the crash in the song up with the audio with the crash in the video, and then that would sync those two, and it would play that way.
Okay.
Yeah, but what's that?
I don't mind buying some new equipment if that'll make it easier. I just didn't know what to get or what to.
Yeah. Okay, Grant, let's set her up with a simple thing.
Yeah, so you'll need some sort of interface to plug like a microphone in that you're going to record. So you'll need a microphone, or they have like drum set microphones. Honestly, if you're just trying to like capture your sound, you can get away with like 1 or 2 condenser microphones, or even just like a SM57. The amount of things I've used SM57s on that have made it to like final recordings is crazy, and they're like $60 or something.
Yeah, they're super cheap. We have like 87 57s.
This drawer is full of SM57s, and then you
can also chunk them down the street, and you pick them up, and you're like, no, I think it's fine, and you plug it in, it works fine.
I have a funny story about that, but we'll save that for later. And then you just need to plug that microphone into some sort of interface. I think the Scarlett, I forget what they're called. I'll get you links for this, and also the link I put in there will have everything you need kind of laid out for there as well. So you just need an interface to plug the microphone into, and then you need to plug the interface into your computer that's running some sort of DAW, like GarageBand, which is on your iPad or your iPhone. That'll be perfect, and it's free, and it's super easy to use, super intuitive. And then you can just put your track in the computer and in the GarageBand, and then hit record, and you should be all good.
So like
Video?
Go ahead.
Is there like a video in the tech area?
Yes. So in the Tech Talk area, Tim Buell filmed actually a series on recording yourself, easy and cheap ways to record yourself. And I would encourage anybody that's looking at doing this. This is one of the biggest learning tools you can have, is being able to record yourself. But also, the learning curve for the first one is the hardest part. Once you learn how to do the first song, you'll plug in and do it real quick. But if anybody's listening, and Grant will get that link, Christy, in there. Okay. You need a microphone. You can just have one anywhere in the room. You can even just like take the cord and hang it on something. You don't even need a mic stand. Just set the microphone somewhere. And that can record your whole drum set. And then you can play around with like, oh, it sounds better when I put it behind me like this, or oh, it sounds better when I come under my ride cymbal. And that'll capture your overall drum sound. And you can get interfaces that are like 1 or 2 channels, and they're pretty affordable. We have one in that room with him. And then you just go directly with a USB into your computer and then open up GarageBand. It should work. But yeah, we'll send you a link for that, Christy, because we actually have resources in the members area that can kind of walk you through that. And as well, Tim Buell is our resident tech nerd, and there's a call with him on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the reason we do those monthly Tech Talk calls is because we have a lot of people that have e-kits, or they're wanting to record themselves and that kind of stuff. And Tim is a gear nerd, and he goes through it, man. And so if you have any questions, Christy, where you're like, hey, I almost got it working, but now I'm hung up here, I can also connect you with Tim, and he can walk you through with like videos and everything, anything like on a personal level with like, you can tell him the gear you have, and he can tell you exactly what you need to be doing with it, like what software and all that stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So definitely don't want to record yourself and not do it. We have all the resources you need to learn how to do that. So we actually have people that can walk you through it. I sound like we're like Sweetwater or something. We have a sales rep that'll walk you right through how to use this USB. No, we're not selling anything though. We'll just tell you how to do it. So once you learn how to do that first one though, It's the second one's really easy. I won't say really easy. It's easier than the first. And by the third one, you're like, oh yeah, I'm an old pro. And then you have the problem of like, wait, I need to get 5 more microphones because I think this could sound better. So, awesome. Is it time for the giveaway? Did I skip it?
It is time for the giveaway.
Ooh. And then we got Juan. What's up, my friend? We got the giveaway, and then I get to talk to my friend Juan. And then yeah, so we're giving away the book Atomic Habits. We're going to deliver it to you by carrier pigeon. I'm kidding. I don't know what Amazon uses, but they probably would use it if it worked. Are you ready, man?
Ready. Pat.
Pat, you won the book. Amazing. We're going to send a carrier pigeon all the way down to Mississippi to deliver.
Thank you. Wow, what a shock.
Doesn't it feel good to win something?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. You could be like, I want a free, queso and chips. Dude, I get so excited. I'd be like, man, all week I'd be like, yeah, winner over here. That's right. Bring that queso and chips right over here. Want to brag, but y'all didn't win, did you?
You're one of those commercials that says, not only that, you get the second one free. Just send a separate fee.
Yeah, exactly.
I get the book. Just send a separate fee.
Awesome. Juan, what's up, man? How are you? How have you been?
Hello, how you doing, everyone? Good to be here. I hope you hear me. Okay, good. So I'm very happy to be back in the Zoom calls after a long time absent from this, and not for any particular reason, just that these tend to be at the same times I have my in-person classes weekly. So it's typically, I don't know why, but it is this way. So, but this week I don't have in-person classes because my teacher is gigging over the country for this week, and so I can be here. I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see Helen and seeing another friendly faces here. I know, and Paulie's here still. No, oh yeah, there you are, there you are. So first of all, welcome to myself back here, and we're happy to see you all. And well, I have a win actually. Yes, this morning I did one of my bold acts of craziness, and I signed up again for the jam sessions here after a couple of years actually. I realized this morning, thanks to Facebook reminding us of things we did in the past, that it is 2 years since the last time I went to the jam sessions. And I have stopped that, not because I felt it was an unbalance, the amount of stress and the amount of fun it was at the moment. So nothing especially bad happened, but I felt so stressful, and I had some fun, but not that much fun as all the stress I was getting from that. So I thought about it a lot, and I realized there were a few things that were making me very self-conscious about my level of performance in those things, and that was bringing me a lot of stress because I was not performing how I would like to. That's all my fault, nothing really objective there. So I gave myself, I made like a plan to fix a couple of things that I saw that were especially stressful. One of them is ending the songs actually in the context of a jam session where you have not rehearsed what you're going to do with the band at the end, and that's an open space in the song where it's really stressful for anyone. I think that Paul is very experienced here, and I'm pretty sure he agrees with this too. Yeah. So I worked in that and a couple more things to build up more confidence. I mean, my lack of fun with the things and all the stress came because I was not confident what I was doing. It took me too much of my mental and physical effort to do it, so it was too stressful. So I think I've developed my skills in those aspects in these couple of 2 years, and so for all the personal reasons that I was needing some excitement happening in my life at this moment because it's been a bit dull lately. So I said, okay, a song came up in the set list for this week that I know and that I have already played, and I say, okay, this song is in the set list. It's like a sign to
That's
go back into this.
Well, I'm excited you're getting back out. That he talked about Pooley, and we've got several other people on the call that you will hear me time and time and time again pushing people to go play with other musicians. The more you can play with musicians, even if it's a friend, or if you can't do that, it's like, okay, just play with music. Kind of like I was talking at the beginning. Play to a recording. Play like. We're musicians, and we kind of die on the vine if we don't start playing with other musicians. But as Juan pointed out, he's coming to us from Spain, by the way. And so, as he pointed out, it's can be stressful because especially in a jam type setting where they have a set list, it's going to be different musicians. It could be that the bass player wasn't very good, but you played fine, but you felt like it didn't go good because things didn't stay together. I've had that happen. The last time I went to a jam session, I felt like crap when I got done. What happened? We had 2 college kids get up there, and it was me and the piano player, and they didn't keep the form. And so he and I were skating all over the place trying to, as the old Southern saying, we were busier than a cat trying to cover crap on a marble floor, trying to figure out how to get out of the song. Y'all can keep that saying if you want to. That's free. And it can make you not want to go back. It can make you feel bad about what happened. But several people on the call can attest, like, just get better. I suggest if you're going to go out to a jam, kind of like Juan did, he looked at the set list ahead of time. If you can go out and hear the jam before you play, that's even better. And just write down some of the songs that they played. Go 2 or 3 times, write down the songs, learn a few of those songs. And then when you get up, don't just be like, I don't know, guys, what do y'all want to play? Don't play the cool kid. It's going to turn out bad. Whenever they say, what do you want to play? You can be like, how about, Pride and Joy? Oh, we don't know that one. How about Sweet Home Alabama? How about, like you just go down your list until you find one that they know, and then you play that. So that's awesome, man. So when are you going to go jam again? When's the jam?
Yeah, is Wednesday. Wednesday, like,
Awesome.
well, it is in the night. It starts like 9:30 p.m., but it goes over up to 12:30 a.m. in the night. So, and I've actually attended this jam every week for the last like almost a year. I started recording some songs because there's another drummer who's actually a relative of my wife, and we met there after a long time. We have not met each other, and I started going because I could see him, and we talked, and I knew someone there, and he plays very good. They're very, very good musicians. They're very good musicians. Some of the people who plays bass here in bands, in local bands here, go to the jam session. So it's a high level. So at first I thought, well, this is too much for me. These people play too well for what I can do here. I'm not at the level of these people to be a participant of this. And so I initially attended just to go there, have fun, listen to the music, meet people. But as I've been going every week, I by now know almost everyone there, and everyone knows me, and I have friendships with everyone there. And I started recording, and after recording, I started streaming the jam sessions because people started asking me for the videos, and it was a lot of work to send everyone the video. So I started streaming. So now I stream this every week.
Awesome.
So,
well, and one of the things to remember, because you're talking about the musicians are better than you are, that's exactly the place you want to be. Because if you've got people that are higher skill levels, they're kind of resonating at a certain energy, and you coming in with a lower energy, and I promise you, the higher energy that they're resonating at is going to cancel out. You're going to come up to their level. They're not going to drop down to your level. So whenever you find a group of musicians that are willing to let you play with them, and they're better than you, oh yeah, jump on that. And it's just kind of an ego hit because you're always going to be the kid in the room. You're always going to be a little bit behind. But you're going to make huge leaps and gains because every week you want to go back and you don't want to let them down. And the cool thing about those cats is if they see you coming back every week getting better, they want you to get up and play. What they don't want is a player that is coming in and is staying at the same level and every week they get worse. They don't have time for that. But if they got somebody that's coming back and they're trying and I promise you, they want you to get up every week and play with them. So, all right, man. Well, I want to know
So
how it
very,
goes then.
very good. Yeah, and actually, this week's another thing happened that had never happened to me before. And I know this is something that you have talked a lot about. In many occasions, I heard you talk about this. That by attending this weekly and making contact with all these people, knowing them, I can say I'm friends with many of them now, and we have talked a lot, and they appreciate what I do with the streaming and so. And actually, this week, one of them sent me a message if I wanted to join a band because he had to quit the band as a drummer, and they were looking for someone to replace him, and he proposed me to join
This
the band.
is awesome news. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Why did you save that until the last? That's awesome. So did you say yes?
No, I have not said yes yet. I mean, I have to build up some more confidence. I actually don't know the people. I don't know what kind of music they make. I will have to, well, at least see what they're doing because, there's a lot of bands here who are in the hard genres like heavy and hardcore and all
Sure.
that. And that's not a kind of music I would like doing. I would have fun doing. I
Right.
don't. I have. I mean, this is not a big no. I want to do this, but I have to meet the people yet. So
Okay,
I
well,
hope
all right.
to meet them.
All right, I want you to follow up with me. I want to know how Wednesday goes, and then I want to know.
Sure.
I want to know if you get to meet these cats and what the music's like.
Sure. You will be able to stream because I stream the thing every week. So I will post the link in the forum. So
Yeah,
you want
please
to see
do.
it. Maybe you can see it live because 12. This will be like at 11:30 p.m. here. So I don't know what time is there, but it's like 7 hours less there. So maybe you
Okay.
can see it live, or anyway, it will stay there in YouTube, so you will be able to see it later.
Very cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to that one. It's good to seeing you on here, man.
Okay, thank you.
You bet, man. What's up, Helen? How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah. And
How are
all the
things
best
in?
for
How are
St.
things
Juan
over
as
in?
well.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I missed it.
No, I was just saying all good, good.
Good, good. How are England's good? Everything's still good there?
It's grey, wet, it's cold, but
This is like it's
Everywhere.
always a great day because I've gotten to talk to someone from Puerto Rico and then Alabama and Mississippi and Spain and now England. We're just kind of going to keep going around the world here.
Yeah, worldwide domination.
Worldwide dominate. That's a word that I will never use with myself. That reminds me of a funny story, Helen. I asked a drum buddy of mine. I don't want to say names because it was kind of funny, but at the same time. Anyway, a drum buddy of mine. He had played with a group. This was when I was in New Orleans, and I said, "Hey, man, how did the gig last night go?" He's like, "Oh man, I blew him away." And I was like, "Oh yeah?" He's like, "Yeah, totally dominated that band." And I was like, "Okay, man, that's awesome." So it was the first time I'd ever heard someone be like, "Oh, I was amazing. I blew him away, dominated the whole band." I was like, okay, man. He's a brilliant player, by the way. It was just kind of a funny thing. Anyway, back to you, Helen.
Doesn't lack confidence.
That is something he never lacked. So,
Yeah.
what you got going on?
I can't remember now there was something about practice that just sort of made me think that something that I was going to say, and I can't remember exactly what it was now, but it's late here, it's getting close to my bedtime. But I've just got one of the practice pad kit things from camp. And I was just
one of the
people-
DW practice kits?
Yeah. And I was just going to add in, I can't remember exactly what someone said, but in terms of trying to get that kind of like practice time going and everything, after playing on one of those kits, I knew that they would be so good for doing all the exercises and all the sort of stuff that we do at camp. But I really resisted getting one because I didn't want to be just like, oh, I'm just going to buy more stuff. The solution to my drumming is just buy stuff. And so for 2 years, since, basically pretty much since the first camp, I've kind of resisted getting one of those kits. And then I was in a drum shop on Friday and I saw one and I just thought, what am I doing? Like, I know it works. I know, doing the exercises on one of those with music on, just as you were saying, doing the thing you were saying to Pat about choose the songs at the right BPM and just do stuff to that. And it's just, yeah. I don't know why it's taken me so long to get one, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well, that's an easy thing to think like, oh, I don't want to buy another tool to try to make my playing
yeah,
better when I can't use the tools I've got well enough, you know. Grant will tell you we don't have that problem here. We think let's just probably get it. You know, Grant's famous line is, "We don't have anything like that at the studio." Yeah, but for me, anything you can do to make your practice time more approachable or to take
yeah,
away the barriers from the habit that you want to do is the way to go. And so if
yeah,
that means spending $40 on a practice pad or spending $150 to $200 on a practice pad kit, to me, that's time well spent and money well spent. If you're like, no, I need it because there are times of the day when I want to play, but I cannot play, or I feel like this will give me the opportunity to practice on this whenever. So what we're doing is we're kind of removing barriers to our practice time, and
yeah.
anything you can do to streamline getting to your practice time, it's so good for you. This podcast is brought to you by the Drum Better Daily program. That's actually my online drum school that I've run now for 12 plus years. Not only have I been playing the drums professionally since the age of 15, I've been teaching since the age of 18. Matter of fact, I talked to one of my, or actually my first student a few days ago. I actually called him to see if he could sub a gig out for me. Daniel, love you, man. And he's still playing. He's still doing it on a pro level. And I have been committed to teaching for 22 plus years now. I would love to have you go check it out at stevensdrumshed.com. You can find a link to that in the show notes or video description, whichever platform you're watching it on. But it truly is a community of like-minded drummers where we are striving to just be the best that we can be at the drums. In addition to over 70 pre-recorded drum courses, there's also a tech talk area where we talk about everything technology related as it pertains to the drums, e-kits, recording, doing videos, all of that stuff. There are forums where you can hang out with the other students as well. We do 2 live video student calls every week that you can join if you'd like to. We do guest artist calls monthly, and I'll even make you a personalized lesson plan if that's what you need. Yes, we talk about the nuts and bolts of drumming. Yes, I give you exercises, but we also talk a lot about how to practice more efficiently, how to practice better, and how to get more out of your practice time. I know you're just like me. You're busy, you're being pulled by work, by family, by friends, by other responsibilities. Whenever you practice, you really want to see gains and have it be productive. That is what we focus on in the Drum Better Daily program. I'll have to say personally, it's been really cool because some of these students I've worked with for over 12 years, we started running drum camps here in 2022, and I got to meet some of them in person for the first time. Those drum camps have been selling out, blowing my mind with how much fun they are and how great a time it is to bring the community together in person. I'd love to have you be a part of it. You know, anything I can do to get out of the way of me getting to the habit that I want to do, that's what I want to do. For instance, I know I was going to go to the gym today. Well, I didn't want to have to go back home because if I go back home before I go to the gym, I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to go home, right? I'm going to be like, no, I'm home now. I'm not going to the gym. So I put the clothes in my backpack, and it seems like such a small thing. If I did not put those clothes in the backpack or I'd forgotten them, I'd say, yeah, I'm not going to the gym today. It literally is such a small thing. And, you know, so I like it. So you got the DW practice kit and it's working for you?
And it is that thing of like getting in, it's just helping me make that routine. And one of the barriers that I have to practice, I have a problem with one of my ears. So having the sound all the time can set it off. And I've made last week we were talking about pros and cons of e-kits. I'm on an e-kit at the moment, and one of the pros of that for me has been I've been able to like adjust the sounds on it. So my e-kit probably sounds a bit weird to other people now, but I've got
I just listened to
JoJo
JoJo Mayer, so your e-kit will not sound weird. His kit sounds way crazy.
Yeah. But even that, like if I'm doing those sort of the exercises where you're doing hands and feet, that constant just the sort of rhythms just sort of set off a bit of a funny thing in my ear. So now having the practice pad, it's that thing of reducing it's basically vibrations and stuff. So that's working really well. But but saying about resisting buying things, I'm still kind of making up all the bits for my acoustic kit. And on
Yeah,
Friday,
I was going to say, you're not doing a very good job resisting because
Yeah,
you have
I
a
know,
custom-made
I know.
acoustic kit coming with a custom-made snare, and you just got a practice kit. And Helen, really, I mean, I wanted to talk to you about resisting your buying.
Yeah, I know.
Look,
Yeah,
if
so
it, if it makes, look, you know what? If you have the expendable income and it makes you happy, this is why I talk about, you know, people are like, what do y'all do here? I said, well, we teach drums and we play drums and we play music and we talk about drums and we take drums down and we take them apart and we tune them and we get new drums. Like, one of the great things about being a musician is you get to weave that into your daily life. And the number of cities that we would wind up in, and I mean, text messages would be flying from bus to bus, depending on who was playing with us or if they were headlining. I mean, we would be texting the other musicians like, hey, y'all got to come check out this shop. There's a, you know, there's a pawn shop down the street and they've got some guitars. I don't know if any of it, and they're sending pictures like, here they are. And pretty soon we're tugging gear up there and the tour managers are like, we don't have any more room in the trailer. What are you doing? It's like, it's fine. It's just 5 guitars. Don't worry about it. So no, I like this.
yeah. So on
Very
Friday,
cool.
the reason I was in the drum shop was because I was getting a hi-hat. So that's my final piece for the kit.
Your final piece.
Yeah,
Fine.
well, you know, for now.
At least that you've told your husband about. Look, this is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
final piece that you know
Oh
about.
no, it's fine. Like every time I buy a cymbal, he does something like on a guitar, and every time he buys a guitar, I'm like, well,
This
I'll
is-
get a cymbal then.
This is a great deal. I really like this relationship. This is wonderful. Yeah, for anybody wondering, you can hide things in your drum set pretty well. So if you get like, oh, I need a splash cymbal, just like hang it like in between here. And when they come in, they're just kind of dazzled by all the stuff. And then months later, they'll be like, oh, when'd you get that? You'd be like, oh, that? I had a while. Yeah, it's just kind of part of the drum
thing.
set. No, I don't know. That old thing, I don't know what you're talking about. So very cool. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it, Helen.
So I wondered, sorry, if everyone could just be patient for a minute. Setting up the hi-hat. I know
Yes.
this is a really basic question, but how do I go about that? Another thing, I know you have to be careful about not having the 2 cymbals directly on top of each other, but are there other things that I need to be aware of when putting it on its stand? Because at the moment, I haven't done it yet because I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, no. So typically they're going to come in 2 pieces. And a lot of times the foot pedal will have kind of some metal rods that you can squeeze together and fold the pedal up. So you want to just make sure the pedal's attached, and then you want to put the center rod, this guy.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be some type of a screw, something you can screw it into. So you're going to screw that in there. Some of them are mounted for good. Just depends on every one of them's different.
Yeah.
And then once you put that there, you just put that piece on there, tighten it, and then, yeah, there's nothing really. I typically have about an inch and a half in between my cymbals here, and then that bottom screw. Just make sure they're not hitting flat together. If they are, you're going to trap air in there. So make sure you twist that bottom screw to offset one of those cymbals, so that whenever when you put it down, like my top cymbal's just a little bit over my bottom cymbal.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's eating up a lot of sticks, pro tip: if you turn the hi-hat where the screw is right here, like I'm like right here by my snare drum, if you turn it, it's gonna kick that bottom cymbal up, and the top cymbal will come over the top instead of the bottom cymbal coming over the bottom. If the bottom cymbal comes over the bottom, so let's say the screw's on the other side and you're tipping the cymbal the other way, and instead we have, instead of the top cymbal being like this hand, the bottom cymbal's kind of like that, you're going to eat your stick up. So it's going to eat your stick up because the edge of that cymbal is going to be eaten on it. So if the top cymbal kind of hangs over the edge, I found that it kind of saves my sticks a little bit, at least a little bit longer. We're still going to make, it's going to still look like a woodchuck has been in the room, but it'll at least save it for a little bit longer.
Great.
So, but that's all. And if you have any specific questions while you're setting it up, just hit us up and we'll make sure that you got it.
Great. Okay,
So,
thank you. Thanks.
Awesome. What do we got? Let's see. Johnny, what's up, man? Am I saying is it Johnny? I'm making sure it's not.
Yeah, it's Johnny.
Sorry, the text is small and it's way away from me. So.
That's
How are
okay.
you, man?
Good. I had a win today. Thanks for getting me back on. I finished my last treatment last week, so
Yeah, how you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I went and bought a gigging drum set.
You and Helen just need to hang out. I mean, this is awesome. We just, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you buy?
Across the pond from the West Coast.
What'd you buy?
I didn't know how much I was going to do it, so I just got I got it for like $150. It's a 5-piece Pearl Roadshow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're not the greatest, but I figure, well, I got to start somewhere. I don't really want to move my main kit out of the and have to keep setting it up. So this is a lot lighter, and it's got I never had one where the tom was mounted off to the side, so there's no mount on the kick drum. So I was a little late coming back from Portland, Oregon I picked it up. So
that's
but
awesome.
I'm looking forward to opening. The only question I have is I'm looking at you sent me the my personalized lesson list.
Mm-hmm.
And should I just go straight to that, or should I go through the if you go on the web page, you have like starting out and blah blah blah.
Yeah, so that really depends on several. If we've already decided on that lesson plan, I would jump straight to that. But sometimes if people are coming back after a really long break from the drums, let's say you took a 10 or 15 year break from the drums, there's some things that are rusty, and it's probably good to just go through a refresher course. One of the reasons is that we get to mark off things, kind of like Barbara was talking about. You get to mark things off your checklist. That's why we have the LMS, the Learning Management System, on the members area, is not so that it's literally, I want you to press the button and check it off, because then it goes on your completed lessons, and you can go and look anytime and you see all your completed lessons. But so sometimes a refresher course like that. But if we decided on a lesson plan, I would jump into that lesson plan and start with lesson 1 and make sure that you're not taking on too much material for the amount of practice time you have. Keep your, expectations realistic, and then just start there, I would think.
Okay, great. Thank you,
man. Yeah, you bet. I'm excited that you went through your last treatment, man. That's awesome.
Well, my wife's pretty easy about me buying stuff. So, although I'm retired now, I'm running out of my funds, so might have to go work at McDonald's or something lately so I can build it back up.
Look, hey, you know what? I set aside a certain amount of money, and this isn't just me. I have a bunch of musician buddies where there's a slush fund, and it's like, no, this is my gear fund. And I know if I want to buy something else, I got to get rid of something because that's my gear fund. So I know that there's always kind of that amount that I can play with, but I got to get rid of something, because I mean, I don't want to say that I got in trouble, Johnny, but let's just say fictitiously that I was on a date with my wife. Let's say that had happened. And let's say that she brought up how many drum sets I have. And when she brought it up, she said, oh, what do you have, like, what, 2 or you have 3 drum sets now? And I was like, 13. And she's like, 13. And I'm like, this is a nice restaurant and the lights are low. So that means we can't talk loud. And that's why you can't yell at me, But yeah, so I totally get it, I'm glad you got an understanding wife. So, and Helen, I wish she would get a hobby where she's like, oh, I bought another guitar. And I'd be like, oh yeah. Well, I guess that means that I get to get another drum. But see, she doesn't do that. She's like, you bought another drum? I'm like, but you could buy something. She's like, no, because you're buying drums. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what's up, Martin? How are you, man? And I think we have some submitted questions too, by the way. My apologies. I'm having trouble keeping up with the chat.
Okay, now I'm in.
Now you're in.
Yeah, so this is probably appropriate given that everybody's talked about practice. I finished The Art of Practice.
Yes. How'd you like it? Was it all right?
It was awesome. Now I have to do it over again. There's so much in it that you have to take, it's study. But one of the things that really came out was the distracted mind. And in a sense, the course helped with that because it just got me more distracted. I went down all sorts of rabbit holes with it. I now own the book, The Distracted Mind, but it was really good because I sort of stopped and came back. And I realized it really made me focus on what was important for me. Although I really liked the interview you did with Pooley, the reason why I'm in drums is to basically exercise my mind and body and work on the coordination, because drumming is amazing because it's a whole brain activity. So one of the things I realized, and then I like Pooley because he's sort of given me an incentive to maybe think about drumming with other people. It's just that because of my age, I want to drum. If I'm going to drum with other people, I want to drum in the afternoon. I'm just, my day ends, at about 7, my wife and I sit down with the dog and we just do things quietly as a family.
Sure.
So I realized timing, which is the quintessential role of the drummer, was the thing I wanted. And so luckily I first looked on the website and of course found it's Tim, right? Tim Buell?
Yeah, Tim Buell, staff teacher.
And-
If you haven't met Tim, you probably will eventually. He's a great guy.
Yeah, so he has a great course on timing and timekeeping and the metronome. So basically I'm starting over using the timing course as the beginning course.
Good.
So that I'm working with the metronome. And one of the things that I learned, a lot of humility here, because you give really detailed instructions for each. Your courses are really well set up and they give detailed instructions. So one of the things, if I have this problem, then I assume other people probably do. You start reading, you're eager to get going, and you don't read the instructions carefully enough, so that you end up missing things that are sort of critical. So I've learned a few things that were interesting for me about the course that I was doing. Going back, and I would suggest to anybody, it's worth it to go back and read the instructions from the beginning. They don't take that long, and all of a sudden you go, the light turns on and says, oh, that's why it was difficult. And if I would have started this way, it would have made it a lot easier. So one of the things, that said, that's my big win. So there are two things that are asks here. One is there a search button anywhere on the site?
There is. So for all of you, some of you may be new. We have brought on a new web dev team, and so we are working with them to make some improvements, not only to the members area, but also speed and functionality of the site. The site, this has been going since 2011. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, but I'm a drummer and real passionate about drums, and I happen to have a website that I have to run too, right? So I'm not a web dev. And so we, like this month, we are migrating to a new server, a new environment that should speed things up. We also are we've got a meeting with them on Friday where we're going to start working on some big picture stuff, but they kind of have to get in and learn the website. So I believe on mobile, there may be a search feature, but I've got to look at it because from the admin panel, it's a little bit different. I will tell you why there's not a search feature and why I took it away for a long time. Was because people were searching things and they were not plugging in, they were surfing. And I would much rather someone sit down with a piece of paper and decide the things that they need to work on or talk to me about it. And then we go and look for those resources. And then once you have them, put them in your favorites and you go back to those until it's time for new stuff. Do you have something you're searching for, by the way?
Well, it was just, there was something.
What's up?
I wanted to see if you had a piece of music, because you've got that. First of all, I want to say that your website is really good. I mean, just the way it is now, maybe it's not fast. I haven't had a problem with that. But I think it's really well organized. So I
Appreciate
was able to do a quick look for what I wanted. It's just that I was worried that maybe I missed it somewhere. So
Which,
I'm interested in the surf beat.
the surf beat. Gotcha. We talking about, you know, this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a specific lesson for the surf beat, but I can teach it to you right now if you want. And then you can have this recording to go back to later.
Sure.
The typical surf beat, of course you had, was it the surf art, you know?
Yes. Right. White Pebble.
That's the, you know, but then it went into.
Yeah.
Okay, so the variation that you can start with is eighth notes on the ride cymbal, and it was usually on the ride cymbal. And we're talking about the 1950s, 1960s era, whenever surf beats became kind of a thing. There were a lot of bands hanging out on beaches, apparently, and it became a cool thing to make music around that. So eighth notes on the ride cymbal, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then the snare drum, the thing that really sets it apart, being a surf beat from other things, is the tempo. One, they typically are up in tempo a little bit, and the snare drum is going to be on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So instead of 2 and 4, you have 2 and then 4. On the kick drum, 1 is typically what's played there. There's tons of variations, but the one you can start with that would get you through just about every surf song ever is 1 on the kick drum and the and of 3. So it's going to be this: 3 and 4 and 3. And you can see at that tempo, it doesn't sound like a surf beat, does it? It sounds like who would play that to any song, but once you speed it up. That was amazing. Yes. Thank you, Grant. I'll be here all week. Ooh, it's kind of a beefy snare tone, though, with that mallet. I just didn't have another stick sitting here. I kind of like that. That's the surf beat.
Yeah.
So that would be like the surf beat 101.
Right.
That I would do. And then you can take songs and download them and put them into an app like Moises and slow them down, because that is a faster tempo. You can also go on YouTube. Some of you may not know this, although sometimes the pitch is affected on YouTube, and the little gear icon in the lower right-hand corner, click on that and you can slow the video down or speed it up. And if you slow the song down by 25%, sometimes it allows you to grasp a song that's quicker, and you can at least grasp the parts and then speed it up later. But Moises is an app that you can pay for $5 a month, I think, and you can import songs into the app and remove instruments. You can add there's a lot of good stuff you can do in there. So, yeah, very good question though, and a very really cool time in music was like the surf genre. We have a drum kit here, oddly enough, a drum kit that is a Murayama drum kit, which was back in the 1960s when they were making Midge drum kits made in Japan. They were cheap knockoffs of Ludwigs and Slingerlands because they couldn't make them fast enough for the number of people who want to buy them. And then they would import them here, and they called them stencil kits. It was cheap kind of plywood, but they looked like the others. Murayama was a Japanese company that was making a professional line that was a Ludwig knockoff. It had a really cool lion logo, and the whole reason I bring this up is because the only drummer we could find that actually endorsed Murayama drums was a Japanese drummer, and he was in a Japanese surf rock band. And you look at one of their album covers, and sure enough, there's the lion on the logo on his drums. Anyway, surf rock always makes me think of that. So, but that's the basic surf rock beat.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you bet, man.
Hey, Stephen, before we get to Sean, we have a submitted question, but also Bill Travis messaged a question. He couldn't figure out how to raise his hand, so he's been actually waiting a long time.
Okay,
so
let's do Bill's, and then we'll do Sean, then we'll do the submitted.
Perfect. All right, Bill, I don't know if you can unmute, but you kind of wrote a little bit about your question.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Hey, great. Yeah, sorry, I'm newbie, first time here, and didn't have a camera set up or anything. But
Well, welcome, man.
yeah, I've been following you guys for a while, and my question is, I'm old, I'm old too. So I was a guitar player for a long time. I always kid I was good enough to audition and get accepted into a conservatory to play classical guitar. In my 20s, I wasn't good enough to stay in a conservatory, if that makes sense. So
it makes total sense.
but I've got a bit of a music background, started playing drums about 3 years ago. Grandfather was a big band drummer back in the 20s, and just, I love it. But my question is, so everybody always says practice makes perfect, right? And so it is always beaten into my head that practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. But then you've got that fine line between perfect practice and perfection being the enemy of excellence. And so where do you see not killing yourself to get perfection over something? Because I was that way with the guitar, and it got to be not fun, and this has to be fun or I'm not going to do it. So
Yeah.
that makes sense as a question.
I actually
Sorry.
like how deep you started going down that rabbit hole, and Grant can tell you I will actually go pull out books and we'll start having a deep discussion on all of this. That's a very good explanation of something that we do, because you have some people that are like, just play, man, just play. And I'm like, well, yes, do that, but also it sounds bad when you play. So let's try to find the quality that you want in your playing and make it have that quality. I try to avoid good and bad terms whenever even though I just used it. I try to avoid that when talking about playing. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's a book that's all about quality. And so does your playing have the quality that you want? And that's really what I'm looking for. But kind of what you were talking about, especially coming from like a classical guitar background where they are so into you being perfect. Oh man, this is rock and roll. Like,
Exactly.
we don't have to.
And that's how I made a living while I was in school. So I played rock and roll too. So
Yeah, and so I come from a very real life standpoint. I also want it to sound like me playing, and so I don't want to over quantize everything. I try to balance it with, am I happy with the way it's sounding, but also am I making progress at the same time, but also am I playing music regularly? So I have those three things that I kind of have going on. And I try to look at, okay, well, I'm making the progress that I want, but I'm not playing music. Okay, well, something's wrong there because I'm not having fun, kind of like what you said.
right.
So I need to bring music in there, maybe back off of myself a little bit and not be such a perfectionist. And you're like, well, I'm making progress and I'm playing music. All right, let's say I've got these parts perfect and I'm playing music, but I'm not really seeing forward progress as quickly as I want to. We may need to fix that, because I find that if we've got one that's racing ahead, but we're not getting the others ahead with it. We have to just kind of go and keep them all steady, and it's never a perfect balance. But I would try to define some criteria for what do I find acceptable with this exercise before I can move on. And then when you get to that point of like, okay, I got it up to the BPM I said I was going to get it to, and it's as clean as I would like it right now, then you have a decision. Am I going to keep going and go further? Because we can always go further. It can always be cleaner. It can always be faster, And we could have a big discussion here about it could always be slower, which nobody wants to go slower, but slow is way harder than fast. Speed is a natural byproduct of learning something well, and you'll hear me say that a lot. So we don't have to force speed. It will naturally come if we will learn the exercises well enough.
I find that speed covers a lot of flaws too.
It does. And if we don't have something down clean slow, when we speed it up, all of a sudden some of that will come out too, because our timing's off and now it sounds sloppy at a higher speed, right? Mm-hmm. So I think for me, it's just a balancing act of balancing how I'm feeling about it, especially like you use those words, it's got to be fun or I'm not going to do it. Yeah. This is okay. It's okay to feel that way. I think in conservative, look, I went to music school. I get it. And sometimes they're a little square, man. Oh. I don't know. I'd be like, this is, I guess that's okay, but it seems not fun. I'm going to go play a gig, well, you missed the second beat in the second chorus. And I'm like, I don't care. It's like, we had a really good time. I met some people. There may have been girls at the gig. Like, it was fun. Come on. So it's kind of that balance of making sure that you're enthused and having fun with it, and that you're
But I also
And
want to get better, and I'm not
yes,
afraid of hard work. Hey, Grant and I talked earlier today, and by the way, Grant, thanks so much for the conversation, and I think that's a lot of it. It needs to be fun, but I have taken my headphones off and have started just playing an acoustic kit, just listening to the kit. God, it sounds terrible, but when it's EQ'd and compressed through the headphones, it sounds really good, and so it's making me work on dynamics and that sort of stuff a lot more. But
well, and I think that if in your situation, I would be checking in with how I'm feeling about how enthused I am to practice. Because if it's like, man, I've been working on hand technique for 4 months. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm not getting to play. Okay, let's change something. That's not good. We need to work towards those goals. And I find if you'll keep setting those goals for yourself, always have a goal in front of you, always kind of be reaching those goals, and then always incorporate music in there. For me, it's a balancing act of those three things. Like the analytical side, but also I need to see progress, but also we need to be playing music. And if we can move those checker pieces ahead kind of all at once, to me, that's the formula in it, but it's not perfect at any time, but that's what I would literally be checking in with my barometer of, am I having fun? And then once I say, okay, I'm having fun, I'm motivated to show up, am I seeing progress? And then all you do is notice the things that need, kind of like you said, I took my headphones off and it didn't sound the quality that I wanted. So I started working on my dynamics. That's exactly the kind of thing that we want. So, but I think a lot, and I'm sure you've noticed that a lot of the things that you learned with guitar transfer over to the drums.
and I won't take up everybody's time here, but what's really interesting is, to me, it's a comparison of learning to play golf of all things. Going slow, figuring out a step at a time. It's crazy how golf and playing drums are line up in my head. Maybe that's just because I'm weird, but it's learning a physical skill that's a lot of mental stuff to it.
It's skill acquisition. It's 100% skill acquisition. And like I think Martin was saying, he's doing it for the mental side as he ages. And then we had Christine on earlier, who went through a stroke last year, and she's coming back from that. And there's really nothing better you could be doing than playing the drums, because it's a physical, visual, auditory, like it's all of your senses. And then, I mean, your brain, when you're playing the drums or playing an instrument like that, your brain lights up. I mean, it lights up like a street lamp at night, because it's activating every sense, because you're having to keep your ears and your eyes and your hands, it's all together. So, yeah, man, I think they're very similar, Very cool.
Well, I'm glad to be on board here.
Hey, I'm glad to have you. Sean, what's up, man? Thanks for being patient. You'll have to unmute. The Nazis at Zoom will not let me unmute anyone, because apparently that's too much power. Yeah, I can hear you now. It's too much power to give me on the Zoom call to be able to unmute people.
Yeah, just hanging out for a while, and I messed up the first thing here. Just forgot to take myself off mute. No, it's good. I've been with you for about 9 months now, and this is the only the second call I've been able to jump in on. So glad to be here right now.
Yeah.
And interesting what Bill said. Oh my gosh, he dropped that 4-letter word, golf. Oh, I'm so happy that I am sacrificing time on that golf course to play drum.
Amazing.
I leave anytime I leave the drum kit, I feel better than I did when I started. There are many times I've walked off that golf course feeling worse than I did when I walked off.
Amen, brother.
Well, and the problem with the golf game as opposed to drumming is you get a scorecard at the end. Nobody's sitting at your gig unless you play in Nashville, and that's a Nashville joke. If you play in Nashville, they'll hand you scorecards as you walk off the stage. It's like, there's a 7.5. It's like, okay. I told my wife when I first moved to Nashville, I said, I feel like the musicians are out there being like, 8.6, good try, buddy, go again, But yeah, with golf, that's the difference. You get a scorecard and you actually have a physical, didn't play so well today, kind of like,
it's only you too. You're only scoring against yourself. You're your worst enemy when it comes to that game, unless you're a pro and you're actually competing against other people. But I mean, yeah, It's a brutal game. It's beautiful on a beautiful day when you're playing well. It's great, but it'll eat your lunch. But
Yeah, kind of like Patrick Mahomes had his. Is that too soon for people? Too soon for the Super Bowl? Sorry, he had a very. It was. I think it's so interesting when we see high performers have a bad performance, and I think it's so good for us to see that. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest of all times, and he's so young, but that was one of his worst games ever last night, and it's interesting to see how very real and honest they are with themselves on that level, and how quick they are to be like, we'll be back here, we'll fix those things. But it's like, today is not a good day for him, because he got that physical scorecard of like, badly done. It was not a good, also the Eagles very much outplayed them. But anyway, back to you, Sean. I didn't mean to, but I agree with you.
All good. Well, my win is, I've posted one song, and I got a decent recording of Back in Black. I left the Warrior Way for a little bit, and I started working on a song. Well, I was still doing Warrior Way, but I decided to start learning another song, one that you gave guidance to on your site, Back in Black, just because I like it, and it's rock and roll. It's something I grew up to, good 80s rock song. It's cool. So I finally got a decent recording in. There is no perfect, right? But I'm continuing to work on it. But I'm going to post it anyway, because I don't want to post something that I think is, oh, this is great, just so I can. It's good to post when you're on the road. So now that's when you get the good feedback. So either way, there's the fact that I got a decent recording in, and I'm going to post is a huge win for me. So, but my question deals with another song. It's Clocks. That's where I am in the Warrior Way right now. I moved a little beyond it. I'm working on Clocks, but still moving on with, working on the practice and everything. But Clocks is a marathon. It's simple. I got the beat down and everything, the groove, it's fine. And the transition between the hi-hat and the ride cymbal, I did that 1,000 times back and forth. So I can do that well. But it's a marathon song for me. I was struggling really with the bass drum and wearing out my quad or my thigh, depending, or my the hinge point on your foot, where it meets your shin bone right there. So I'm going back and forth between heel on the floor and heel off the floor. And then just the other day, I came across your bass drum, like boot camp bass drum technique. Like five lessons in there. So that was good for me to see that you can work that bass drum differently. My question is to a seasoned drummer, and I know this is subjective, but to a seasoned drummer, if you're playing that song, what bass drum technique are you using? Is your heel on the floor the whole time?
Good question. Let me see. Sometimes we do things and we actually don't know why we're doing them or how we're doing them. And now, so yeah, so kind of halfway in between Bakum, and my heel's not very far off the ground. A lot of times we think heel up, the heel has to be all the way up, but for me, heel up, thanks, man. Heel up.
Not on the floor.
Yeah, anything that's not on the floor. And so for me, heel up doesn't always mean extreme. Matter of fact, it very rarely means extreme up unless I'm playing very high energy or I need to hit hard. And so I am raising my heel, but it's an inch or two at the most. And then anytime it gets a chance to set back down. Yeah, it's just about an inch off there. Now, if I was playing. So if I'm actually in an arena swinging for the fences. Now I've got some tension in my leg. Now my heel is up. and I'm using my whole leg to drive into the drum because I'm trying to project more. And that's why you have drummers that come back from tour and they're way lighter than when they went on tour. Because every night there's a great a doctor, I forget her name. We were going to have her as a guest artist, but we couldn't line up times. She measures the heart rate of drummers that are playing large shows. And we perform at the same caloric burn and heart rate intensity whenever we're doing large venues as Olympic soccer players. That's the type of heart rate spikes that she sees.
Wow.
And I have a video that I did with Pete Parada when he was with The Offspring, and we calculated caloric burn peaks and valleys of his heart rate just by some calculations you can put in. But we weren't, and that was exactly what we had come to too. And then so years later, she came along and she's actually monitoring the heart, and she's like, no, this is what's happening. So there is a very physical nature to the drum set, and you saying it's like a marathon. There are some songs that I have practiced, not because I can't play them, but I can't play them for that long.
Yeah, well, that's the issue I'm having. So when you get to the at the end of the bridge and there's a break and it goes to just the piano solo again, that little rest is enough to get me through the end of the song.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's shorter. You're close to the end at that point anyway. But from beginning to that point, it starts falling apart near the bridge because I can't keep the timing due to just fatigue. It's like not only that, I try and I'm a pretty active person. I would call myself. I try and stay fit. But I'm like, I got to work out my other leg. There's no way I'm not building some kind of muscle in this right leg and probably becoming a little bit out of balance, so to speak. I'm not hitting the hi-hat like I am the bass drum. So when it feels that sore during practice. So I guess it's just endurance, right? This is something I was listening to Christine earlier, and her approach to the song was slowing it down and slowly speeding up, where my approach to the song was play it at speed, you just don't finish. And I'm taking breaks during the song and then getting right back into it as soon as that little burn goes away. It's literally just one bar, usually just 1 through 4, just 8 notes, and then I start again.
Well, and I think too, whenever you can't play the part at a tempo, it's like, let's reduce the tempo. But whenever you're in an issue like where you're like, no, this is actually a physical issue, I cannot play it for this long, then we get into the endurance aspect of things. If anybody wants to know, just because this is kind of an athletic instrument, we're hitting things. I have a shoulder thing that's flared up right now. And my wife was like, oh, what do you think that's from? And I'm like, oh, I'm probably from hitting things for 30 years. I think that's where it came from. And so whenever it's a physical issue like that, oftentimes what I will do is set a timer, and I'll put myself almost like I was in the gym trying to run sprints or something. And so let's say you're in that song and you're like a minute and a half into the song is where I start failing. I'm going to do reps of a minute and a half, and then I'm going to start increasing the reps. And I'm going to try to be making it past a minute and a half cleanly. So I'll go to a minute and 35 seconds, a minute and 40 seconds. I've done this in my practice time before, and where you're physically trying to work yourself out to where you can get up to show level. And this is something that drummers have to do quite a bit when you're going on tour. And Taylor Swift, I heard a story about her the other day that she rehearses on a treadmill. Because when she's live, she's running around the stage. She's not standing there. So to get in tour shape, she has to jog while she's singing. And it's kind of similar with us. It becomes very physical, like a physical fitness type thing. If anybody's looking at doing some, like what we're talking about with Sean, it's a physical thing. We're better at mental tasks in the morning, and we're better at physical tasks in the afternoon. And that is from, I forget the book that it is, that studies that they did. So if you want to do a split practice plan, mentally you're going to be more fatigued in the afternoon. So that's where the physical comes up. You can still work on that, but mentally it's like, okay, I'm kind of shot. So, but if you've got something that's it takes a lot of thought processing to work out, coordination stuff, I would work on that in the mornings, and then in the afternoons attack the physical stuff. So yeah, but you're 100% correct. But that's how I tackle those things in my practice time. I set timers.
Yeah, just like you would any other physical activity, pretty much. Just build endurance.
Yep,
it's getting better. I was just worried that, or not worried, but I was wondering, maybe I'm just utilizing the space drum wrong, because I would start off with heel on the floor. That would get tired quick just from moving. That just, I lose endurance on heel on the floor quicker than I do with the heel off the floor.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I would do a healthy split between the two.
Yeah.
Don't bring it up as high, so you're not activating those muscles and holding your leg up. So find a way that you can rest your foot and also play the pattern. Will probably be the easiest for me. That's what I saw that I was doing.
All right. Well, hopefully I post it in a month or so.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to hear the other one too.
Yeah, you'll see that. That'll be up today. So I'm going to
do cool.
after the call there. But thank you. Thanks for everything. It's great. I love that I found out about you. I love that I started this, and just nothing but good things to say.
You bet, Sean. I appreciate that, man.
Mm-hmm.
We got a question that's submitted, Eric, and then you're next. Is that cool?
Yes. All right.
Awesome.
Submitted question is from James Lewis. He says, I'm really having a challenge doing one-handed 16th notes on the hi-hat or on the ride cymbal. I've tried the arm movement method to try and get more speed, but I feel like I'm cramping in my forearms. Just an FYI, I'm in my early 60s. Should I use the two-hand method, or do I need to do one hand as well?
Look, if it's a thing, I've seen people play one-handed grooves with two hands. Is there a feel difference? There can be. Yes. But if that's the only way you can get up to that, we have to be honest with where we are physically and where we are in our technique. And so if I got a gig and something called for something that my technique could not do, I would find some way to pass it off until I could get the technique there. Faster, they're talking about the arm motion. Hand Technique 101 talks about the molar pumping motion, or the two-stroke. I believe that's in lesson 2 or 3. No, 3 or 4 in Hand Technique 101. So it's a down-up motion where you're getting a stroke on both of them instead of all down. It's more of a down, and when I come up, there's another stroke that can happen. Just by bringing my arm up, there's another stroke that happens. So when my arm goes up, my stick tip goes down. When my hand goes down, my stick tip goes up. That's one that helps. Another is fingers. Right? And that's in Hand Technique 102 with working on finger control. But that is what I would start digging into. And if you want to, James, send me a video of your hand playing the one-handed 16th notes. I can probably give you some pretty great some pretty accurate, let's say that, some pretty accurate pointers on what's going on there and why your hand is fatiguing or your arm is fatiguing, and how to kind of release some of that tension. But yeah, two-handed is not a deal breaker if it gets you there, but we want to know, okay, this was a one-handed groove, so I want to eventually play it one-handed. So then we want to try to figure out what's the thing holding us back from playing that one-handed. So, but the easiest way for me to help with that is if I can see a video of that. And I know that's not the answer you probably wanted, but if you can even take just a phone video of you playing 16th notes on your hi-hat, that will help me understand what's going on. So, good question. What's up, Eric?
So, all right, I figured out how to unmute myself. All right.
Now I can hear you.
So I had an opportunity to get some private lessons with a touring drummer.
Mm-hmm.
It's costing me a fortune, but so I only get like 4 lessons. At least I only paid for 4 lessons. So I haven't had in-person lessons in 30 something years.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that I work well. I do good with the lessons online, but sometimes you just need to and also just if there's an opportunity to learn from someone that's been playing, in person for
absolutely
30 something years, I figure it's worth the opportunity.
I still will take lessons from people that I know. Matter of fact, one of the guys that I took lessons from in the last couple of years, Dave King, was in town last night. Why does he have to play on Super Bowl Sunday? He played at the theater right down the street from me, and I was just like, Super Bowl's kind of a deal. We throw a party with our kids, so they come to expect, we like have coloring sheet, like it's a whole deal. So there's no way that I'm going to get out of anyway. So yes, I 100% agree with take those lessons, man. And yes, sometimes they are expensive.
So I just want to make sure I'm getting the most out of them. Is there, like I said, I haven't done this in over 30 years. I was in college, one-on-one lessons. So is there anything I should be like, I'm sure there's things I'm not thinking of, I should be asking and making sure I'm like getting the most out of it. As you know, I've been struggling a lot with my timing and consistency. So that's what I asked him like specifically to work on, focus on for the lessons. Anyway, so I haven't seen his lesson plan that he's come up with me. I'm meeting with him this Thursday for the first time. So see what happens.
So whenever I'm in I'll tell you from a teacher standpoint, it's very, very hard to go into a one-off lesson with a student if they don't give you some idea of where they are, or they don't come in with general questions. So it's very helpful for me as a teacher when a student comes in and is like, I want to take a lesson from you. If they have 2 or 3 pain points that we can begin focusing on, because all I'm thinking in my mind while I'm trying to teach this person is, am I hitting the mark that they need? Are we succeeding? Are they going to see this growth? I really don't just want to take people's money. That's not my desire. My desire is that they leave having gotten more from that lesson than they paid for that lesson. That is the desire of a teacher. And so when you go in there, I would have video that you can pull up present with you so that whenever you say, my timing is off, you can give a very good example. For instance, on this song, do you hear what is happening? On this song, do you hear what is happening? Play a couple of examples. Play it for them live if you can. And once they get a bead for where you're going, especially if you have a touring drummer who is going to be, they're going to be able to assess this at a higher level. They're going to be able to start digging in with you very quickly. So I would have in my mind the areas that I want to work on, and I'd have backup areas so that if you start solving those, it's not like, well, we have 2 more lessons, what you want to do? It's like, no, next question. You have the next one. You don't want to overload them, but you want to lead with like, this is my biggest pain point right now, and I'm really trying to take my playing to kind of that next level. Here's what the issue is. And I'll give you a for instance. Whenever I met, and I've met with several people that we've had as guest artists. When I met with Klaus Hessler, I wanted to actually teach and show him how I taught hand technique so that he could give me some feedback from a teacher's standpoint. Because he's took from Jim Chapin. He's like amazing technician. When I took from Dave King, a very specific, I had several, but my lead one was, Dave, I've got a lot of information in my head and I can't access it. I'll be playing, I can see it, it's like it's over in another room, but I can't figure out which hallway to go into or which light to turn on so that I can get over to it. And
good way to put it.
Yeah, and that was all it took for him. He's like, man, I've got 2 or 3 exercises that we're about to go through, and I think this is about to open it up. And he was 100% right. So it just took me giving him some very accurate descriptions of where I was so that he could make the most, and he wound up staying like 30 minutes longer in the lesson. That's how much he wanted to deliver, because he got into it. He's like, no, you got to get a hold of this, you know? And so when you get a teacher, they really don't want to just put in the hours. They need, if you can come in with, especially in like a 1, 2, 3, 4 lesson type of, if you're buying a bunch of lessons, go in with a specific thing, because then you can look back on that time with that drummer and you go, you know, it was expensive, but actually it was pretty cheap for what it did for my playing. Because I mean, my playing I had the tools to really take it kind of where I wanted to go with it. So that's what I would do. I would spend some time game planning before you go in. Don't overload them with too many things. Give them one very specific thing you're wanting to work on, and then be giving them feedback when you come back. Like, hey, I mean, really try to dig into that thing. Because I know we've talked about this a lot. If timing is your thing, dig in granular and be like, you know, I'm not hearing it. You're telling me that's happening, but I'm not hearing it. And then try to work with them where you can hear it. So you're improving your ear, you're improving this, that kind of thing. Does that help any?
Yeah, no, it helps a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah. If you do that, it's going to be very successful for you, and he's going to be or she is going to be very happy because that gives them a goal to go for. I would also record it. Please ask them first, just say, is it okay if I record it just for my own sake? Record it, even if you can just put the audio recording and record the audio and just say, hey, can I just make an audio recording of this? Or, hey, do you mind if I just come and set a camera up just to record it for my own use so that I can go back and listen to what you're playing for me? I'm not going to post it anywhere, that kind of a thing. And 99.9% of the time, they don't care. But
Cool,
that way
thank
you capture it forever and you have it to go back to.
I got my GoPro set up.
Yep, that's the way. I like it, man.
All right, thank you.
You bet. What's up, Bill?
Just real quick, because I gotta go cook dinner, but I just want to make sure that I got my big win and which I put at the beginning of the chat, but that was so long ago. But my Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, so that is my big win. I had to get that in today. That was
Look, that's a huge win. I like it, man, because they went in as the underdogs, and I love it, man. I love competitions like that because it's just high-level performers when the referees will not get in the way. They're high-level performers, and you heard the announcers. They're like, just let them play. Stop, they're. And so, yeah, it was impressive actually to watch with how intense the Eagles took the field. That was actually an impressive thing. It was their defense was ridiculous.
I have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. My daughter is the only one that's into sports, and I brainwashed her into being a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So we've been texting through the games, and she's pregnant, and my wife is like, she's got to be calm. I don't want her going into labor during the game. So anyway, that was my win.
My 7-year-old was watching with us last night, Bill, and we were talking about at halftime, and I told Kelly offhandedly, without thinking she was listening, because she's over there painting. She's doing watercolor stuff, just having fun. And I said, my biggest fear is that they're going to come back from halftime, and they're going to think, oh, we have this in the bag. And then they're gonna let him come back and score it because you can't give him a home. And I hear Brooklyn behind me plop her paintbrush down, and she goes, "Is that really your biggest fear?" And she's like looking at me, and I was like, "What?" And she said, "What if the house burns down, Dad? What if somebody kidnaps me? Is that your biggest?" And I was like, "No, it's actually not my biggest fear." But but she was so offended. That might have even perchance. Yeah. She's like, is that really your biggest fear? I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Sorry. Well, it's not. If you get kid. Yeah, go ahead.
My history was my favorite sports teams is I don't celebrate until it's finally over. Clock hits 0 because I've had games I thought were in the bag that we ended up losing. So 44-0. I'm still holding up. Okay, thanks. Great call.
You bet, man.
I got to hit the road.
Have a good dinner. What's up, Hercules? How you doing, man?
Hey, Steven. Everything's fine so far.
That sounds ominous so far.
So far. I've been back to practicing the hand and foot singles, and I actually feel very nice, like being back into the practice routine and stuff like that.
Good.
So I saw the Offspring live in the summer, and they have like a new drummer, like even younger than me, 21, 22 years old, and I was super jealous about it.
Who's playing with them now? I haven't even seen who's playing.
I don't know his name, but because he's like a drummer they have for a year now, I think, or maybe 2. But like super young guy, super fast, like very good.
Oh, and wait, we got it right here. Brandon Pertzborn.
Yeah.
Pertzborn? Yeah.
I hate him. I'm super jealous of him. And they released a new album, Supercharged something. And they have this song, I'm posting it now on the chat. And that about 20 seconds in, he starts doing some breaks, like very fast breaks. And I would like to ask you if you can decode them for me or tell me maybe what he's playing, because I just hear 16 notes, but I can't understand exactly.
Let's see here. Where is the part?
I think it's after the 20th second, like 20 to 30 seconds in.
Okay, cool. Can y'all hear this or no? Grant, can y'all hear that? No.
No.
Okay, cool. Let me see if I got a dongle here. I had one earlier.
I've got one I can grab real quick if you need me to.
Okay, sorry, man. What's the name of the song?
Light It Up.
Light It Up. Got you. I thought I had one in here, man. Sorry. Thanks. Where did you say it was in the song?
20 to 30 seconds in.
Okay, cool.
It's just some drum breaks with just the drums, like the rest of the band stops.
Okay. The Offspring, Light It Up. All right, everybody. Sorry, there may be a little pop when I plug this in. Nope, that's not right. Let's do this.
Steven, I emailed you that link for the song he's talking about too. That way you can find it on your phone.
Got you. Is this it? Yeah, it sounds like what he's doing there. I mean, as far as like specifically exactly what he's playing on the toms, I would have to go through and listen more. But what he's doing is which is a pretty popular thing, he's taking that ride group. So he's taken that to the toms, and it sounds like, let's see here. So sometimes they're going in between the top tom. So he may be here. So something like that is what I would be doing. The thing you have to watch is, and that's just, you can simulate this. I would start with that. And then you can go in, which slow doesn't sound that fast or doesn't sound that cool, but when you speed it up and you throw in the kick drum, Grant may be looking up a video of him playing it live to see exactly what he's doing. Or he could be going to two different toms. Something like that. Because then you've got to think he's got the kick drum going to it. If I didn't do anything else, but that's a pretty popular move in punk or gutter punk or something like that, where you're taking. And the thing that's staying consistent is the kick and the snare. I prefer to discuss concepts rather than exactly what he's playing there. The band breaks out there, and the concept is he takes the ride to the toms. And you can usually take, what's he doing?
He's going, he's moving his right hand to the floor tom, left hand to the rack tom, and then going back and forth with this thing.
you can like mess around with that. And what does it sound like here? Well, you couldn't do it here because you're going to hit your hand. So, but you could do. You had toms down here. And this is where I get stuck because I would sit here forever and be like, cool, well, what other combinations could I do? You know, gee, Steven, let me nerd out in front of everybody. But that's what he's doing. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so basically he keeps the punk beat, the tupa, but just breaks it down between like two toms, and the back beats always on the snare.
So if this is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, he's playing 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and What's he do with the kick drum there? Let me hear that. He either does 1 and 3 or he does doom back kuka back. So it's either this. Take a second to work out because now you were going, now you have to line it up with the 16th notes. So it's got to hit here. But I hear him playing 1 and 3 is what I hear. And that's what I would do live because I feel like that would drive it better. There'd be way too much chance for it to get muddy with playing 2 kicks between here and there. So I would be kind of going more for power. I can't get that transition. And this one is fun. You could go. But user beware. You run the risk of, man, I'm coming awful close whenever I go. I got to get out of the way real quick or this thumb's going to get it, man. It's coming for it. Because, yeah, I mean, that's the thing about that groove, though. The goom, pack, that cannot stop. That it has to stay punching in your face. That's got to stay punching. The kick and the snare. If you keep that going, you can do just about anything else as long as that's going, right?
Because so, yeah. Every time I would try it, I would just start the break on the snare, and it would just lose some of its power. So I hadn't thought about keeping the snare on the upbeat while doing the break.
Yeah, and a lot of drummers just would have done this. Which achieves a similar effect. Let's be honest here, but it's way more fun.
These breaks kind of stood out for me.
What's that?
These breaks kind of stood out when I heard the song. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, did not expect to hear that or pay attention to it.
Well, and I kind of like it too because they gave him a little feature there, and it's nothing that distracts you, but it's enough that the listener's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Because if you did the break, this works. But if it's a drum break, why not? Just make sure you get that hand over here, man. Like, don't hit it in the center of your snare. I'm telling you, this is the recipe for you to break your thumb. There's been so many gigs where I'm like playing the ride cymbal and there's a tear coming just right down here because I'm like, I think I just broke my hand. I think it's broken right now. You're like holding the drumstick like this. You're like, it really is broken. I don't think I can move it. Because it's like the stunner effect. When somebody we're talking about football, when somebody gets hit and they get up in their arms like this, they're like, oh, it just got stunned. Nothing's broken. It's just like, I can't move it. I think it came off. Can somebody find it? Yeah, I had one of those events, but I split my hand open on the first song, and I was waving at my tour manager, and he's looking at me, and he's thinking I want something more in the monitor, so he's like giving me more guitar, so then I can't hear anything. It's just blowing my ears out. I'm like, stop it, what are you doing? And he came over, and I was like, can you see I'm bleeding out, man? He goes, oh man. He runs the security guard. He's like, I need a first aid kit. My drummer's bleeding out. Anyway, it was a whole deal. But yeah, that's actually really cool. I haven't listened to The Offspring in a long time, not their new stuff. So that actually makes me want to go listen to that album. So I'm gonna go check that out. Very cool.
So far, so good from what I heard. Like I don't remember the whole album, but that song stood out. I think it's because of the drums.
Oh yeah. Well, and now you know what he's doing. So just slow that down and then speed it up. It's just like 16th notes, man. You got this. Very cool. This was a good call. I lost my mouse. There it goes. Awesome. We got a Tech Talk call for if anybody wants to jump on it on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we'll see everybody on that call. And I'm going to go work out and then eat dinner. So I guess everybody have a good dinner. So we'll see you.